Welcome to the fish tank.
Hey everybody, Fishman here. Welcome to another video. This is going to be part 2 of the rainforest build, where I'm going to take those chambers you saw in the last video, get them up on a stand, and put them in the big 7-foot tank. But before I get into that, I want to clarify this process up again. I know it's been a while since I've gone into how I join acrylic together, and I've been getting a number of questions, so I thought I would supply those details again. The glue I'm using is not a glue, it's a solvent, and it's called methylene chloride. What it does is it dissolves both sides of the joint. And because it has a really high vapor pressure, it evaporates really fast. And when it does, the acrylic, which has been dissolved, solidifies and forms a chemical weld. Now, it doesn't come in the syringe you see, it's just an applicator. I buy it in a bottle, and I load up the syringe whenever I am going to do any kind of gluing. And then the second I'm done, I will remove everything that's in there. I'll put it back in the bottle and remove the stopper and all that sort of stuff, because it will corrode the rubber stopper you see in there, and it becomes quite useless really fast. And I don't want to buy them all the time. Actually, right now I can't buy any. And that way it just keeps it going for quite some time. So that should clarify that. And as you can see, even though this is fast forward, it doesn't take long for it to solidify, and that's the reason why I prefer that versus some of the weld-on products. Though, in fairness, I haven't tried any of them, and once all this stuff's done, I actually plan on getting some and trying that out as well. So far what I've done here is I'm building a frame, and you can see the two pieces on the top and bottom, which is underneath at the moment. They are going to be where those chambers are going to sit, and there's going to be 2 on each. I was originally planning on making one big frame, and that way it'd be sturdier. But then I came to my senses, because this has to be lifted up into that tank, and it's just going to be very awkward to move something that large. It's going to be, I think I calculated it out to be about 28 inches. And that would be a little bit difficult to maneuver, and with plants and everything else that it's in there already. So instead I decided to go with this. This is going to be a 2-part system, and that way I can just put each in separately. And these are going to be the legs. And because I'm taking 2 angles basically and sticking them together, this is going to actually be really sturdy. A lot more sturdy than it really needs to be. But as I said in the last video, I'm kind of running out of 1/8 inch, and I think 1/8 inch probably would have been a little flimsy anyway for this. So it's going to be done in 1/4 inch, which means it can take a fair amount of weight, and there really isn't going to be any. It's just, I mean, it's quite a light system really when it comes right down to it. So once you see this, if you can picture this now with that being the leg and the leg being on the bottom now, once this is set in the aquarium, it's going to hold it level, and it's going to hold it just ever so slightly out of the water. I don't want it sitting in the water, like the bottom of the tray is sitting in the water. Not so much for anything aesthetic or whatever, it's just I like the surface of my aquariums to be free, so that way you get good gas exchange. And I know a square foot here or a square foot there isn't going to make a big difference, but there's no point in doing that if you don't have to. So also, once as you can see here now, I'm going to weld the legs in 3 different angles. So these are going to be actually really, really sturdy. So that is the stand for one of them, and it's upside down now. Once it gets up the other way, you'll see it is actually, well, I don't think you can stand on it or anything, but it's going to be more stable than it needs to be. And then what I'm going to do is I have to put a spray bar system for this. And I did kind of go back and forth on how to do that. Originally what I was going to do is make an entire framework, kind of like the same thing I did for the rolling drum filter build. And there you go, it's nice and flat and true. And here's a supervisor. I got up to do something, and well, it's his chair, so he came down and sat. And you can see the back of the chair there is all scratched up. That's him. But then again, it's just for down here, so it doesn't really matter. So that's the frame setup. And you can see the holes are going to be about 3/4 of an inch out of the water. and it's all set now. I have to do is build the spray bar system. As I was saying before I got onto the cat, it is not going to be held in place. I decided not to go that route right away. What I've done here is I took a piece of acrylic. It's going to rest on those two brackets, and I took a coupling, put it in the lathe, and machined it down so it fits really snugly in that piece of acrylic. So that's going to hold it nice and firmly. And then there's going to be a T. The half-inch PVC is going to come up to there, and there's going to be a T, and it's going to spray across to the sides. Once I have all the bugs of this worked out, in other words, I've run it for a while, adjusted how many holes are going to be, the flow rate, and all that sort of stuff, I will eventually put this into a frame structure. So in planning to do that, I've done a couple of things. You'll notice at the bottom of the T, right here, I also machined another piece of I think it was a coupling, yeah. I think it was a half-inch female coupling, and I just cut a piece off, and I also machined two end caps. So these will all fit snugly into 1-inch holes, and that will be how I'm going to be able to attach it to a frame after the fact. So this is all set up now. I just need to do one more thing, and that is put on the bars like this, and then decide how many holes and what diameter to make them. I ended up going with 3 each, and 1/4-inch holes because, well, again, the rolling drum filter kind of gave me a little bit of foreknowledge on how well this is going to work this way. It's roughly the same height of the water. It's all the same type of piping, and the flow through that was actually a good way of judging how much or how little to do this. So the piece of tape there is simply because I don't want any water going down the middle there. So when I was putting this in the milling machine and cutting those holes, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't putting any holes, where there isn't anything. So here you go. It's up and running. What I want to do in the future actually is, when I'm trying to plug a pump in, turn the camera on, and get all that stuff working all at the same time, you guys end up missing, not seeing this being turned on. So I was thinking maybe what I'll do in future videos is hook up a switch so I can plug it in with it off, have the camera or the phone ready, and then flip the switch, which I don't have to really look at, whereas when I'm plugging something in, I actually have to look at what I'm doing, and that way you get to see it fire up right from the very beginning. But as you can see, the 3 holes actually giving you a nice 3/8 of an inch water there. The reason why there isn't anything in this at the moment, you'll notice that some of the holes aren't dripping at all yet. Acrylic is hydrophobic. It repels water. It takes a long time, a few days anyway, before this is going to get saturated, and it will flow more evenly that way. So that's why there's no plants or anything in this at the moment. And also, I want to test a few things out. I don't know if this is too much rain, too much water flowing through, so I have to fiddle around with all that. So there definitely will be an update on this. But first impressions for me are, it flows well. I'm not going to have any problem with the amount of humidity that's in this. That's great. And it's just a simple matter now of choosing plants, getting some driftwood in here. Also, I think I'm going to put some rocks and gravel in the bottom as well. I got all this flow. I'm also make use of it as a filtration system as well. And we'll see how this all turns out. So, as always, if you like this style of video, please like and or subscribe. And definitely leave me lots of comments about this, because I am curious to see what you think of it. I think it has potential. It may be too much water for non-aquatic. Well, I was thinking of trying this out for like aquaponics and stuff like that, but I think it would have, like a couple of commenters had already said, it would probably have to go on some kind of timer or something for that, just so it doesn't, drown the leaves and that sort of stuff. But I think for something like Anubias and for Java Fern, this is going to be great. But again, we'll see how this goes. And yeah, so there are going to be updates for this, so you don't have to worry about that. And we'll see how that all goes in the future. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video, and bye for now.